Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzy. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. And today I'm very, very pleased to welcome Janelle Salo. Janelle is a registered nurse out of Maryland, USA. She says she has a background in caring for patients with chronic diseases, both in their bedsides and at bedside and in their homes. Currently, she serves as a care coordinator for MedStar Health. She's also a published writer and editor of healthyearthliving.com. And she is published in such publications as Health Today, Luminous Travel Nurse, the Higher Learning Hub, Nurse International, and others. And so when she's not writing and she's not at the bedside, she likes to enjoy the beach. She's practicing yoga and scuba diving. So welcome to now.
Thank you, Dale. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my honor. It's my honor. Tell me why are you a nurse though?
I just kind of stumbled into it. I needed a job. I needed job security. I was actually a little bit older when I started my training as a nurse, my studies. I was in my early 30s, newly divorced with a kid, a small boy at the time, and I was tired of working multiple part-time jobs just to make ends meet, and I knew I needed to find something that would provide good job security. And I really honestly didn't even think that nursing was not something I ever thought of growing up as a girl. I had a lot of different aspirations to do a lot of different things, but I did start out as a home health aide. I worked in home care as an aide. I worked in the hospitals as a nursing assistant. And my nurses that I worked under all would say to me, "Wow, Janelle, you'd be such a great nurse. You have such great bedside manner. You're quick to pick things up."
Yeah. Hmm.
And just from their nudging different jobs as I held as a nursing assistant, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I did. And it was hard, but I did it.
On any level, nursing is hard.
It sure is.
But coming to it now as a quote unquote older person, because from my perspective, 30 something is not old, but coming to it with some life experience behind you, you had a child, you were divorced, you had other jobs. Um, what were the challenges for you?
Well, I think the challenges for me initially were just maintaining my home life, my income, and juggling going to school at night, and that's pretty much what I had to do. So I was just I was practically running on fumes for a few years, just barely getting any sleep. But I wanted to. I just knew I had to do this, and I knew I had to be good at it, and I wasn't going to settle for anything other than the best. And I found myself on the honor roll and on the dean's list multiple times, despite having very few sleeping hours and juggling motherhood and bills and everything. So that
Mhm.
part of schooling, I think that was one of my biggest challenges, was just trying to get myself through school while living independently with my son and paying my bills. And I did not want to ask family for handouts, and I didn't. So I just kept plugging away. And my motto at that time was, I have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead. And so that's kind of what I hung on to. And I'm getting caught up on my sleep, by the way. Finally.
So, but do you think that coming to it older and with more life experience than a lot of people do you think that stood you in good stead?
I think I think so, because I was in a better mindset to
Mm,
study, but I also had the experience of being a nursing assistant. And when I talk to new nurses or people, younger people that are saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about becoming a nurse," I always say, "Well, what kind of experience do you have? What led you to this decision?" Because I think a lot of times, just having gone through school, I would, because nursing classes start out really big, and then by the time you graduate, they're like this big. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, this is not really for
Yeah.
me."
Mm-hmm.
I think having that experience prior to schooling, like having some kind of hospital or nursing home or home health experience, even as a nursing assistant, is a great way to get your feet wet, just to make sure you're in the right place. A lot of nurses make mistakes where students make mistakes where they start classes and then they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do this," because nursing can be kind of a dirty job at times.
What kind of areas did you work?
Well, I started after graduation. Well, before graduation, I was working. Oh boy, I've worked so many different places. So before I actually, before I actually became a nurse, I worked in home health, as I said, as an aide. Then I worked ICU, cardiac ICU for two different hospitals, and also on a pulmonology floor at nights. Once I graduated, as a scuba diver, I was on a dive trip and I was reading a dive magazine and I read an article about hyperbaric medicine. And I lived in Dayton, Ohio at the time. And I found that my state had the largest multi-man hyperbarics chamber in the country, but it wasn't being used to treat dive injuries. It was being used to treat chronic non-healing wounds, which I absolutely love that. So I got into working at the hyperbarics chamber, addressing chronic non-healing wounds, venous stasis, ulcers, diabetic Charcot foot disorder, as well as patients that were having that had chronic non-healing wounds related to necrotizing fasciitis, things like that
Mm-hmm.
that were easily treatable in a hyperbarics chamber. So I did that. I also did hospice off and on for about 7 years, inpatient hospice, um, which I absolutely loved. I think birth is a beautiful thing, but I think death can also be a beautiful thing. If it's
Mm-hmm.
done the right way, it can be beautiful. So
Yeah.
that did not scare me or freak me out in the least. But I think what brought my true passion was back in home care. I absolutely love home care. I love the one-on-one. I love the teach. I love the family camaraderie of being part of somebody's family. And when you have a patient in home care, you tend to stay with them for,
Yeah.
sometimes a month or so, and even longer. So I just really, I really love having one-on-one with my patients and really teaching them and making a difference. And if it hadn't been for me falling down the stairs a few years ago and rupturing my right ankle, I'd still be in home care. But now I'm a care coordinator. My body said enough. So here I am.
And your body is saying, so I had to break your ankle for you to get me.
Yeah, I mean, I was rushing out the door and I took actually it'll be 4 years this Halloween. I was on my way out the door for Halloween morning to see my patients. I was running too fast on the stairs. I rolled my ankle and that was it. My home care career was over and I decided I have to find a boring desk job. But now I have a really great desk job because it's not boring. I'm doing what I like, one-on-one
Yeah.
care, but it's just telephonically.
Okay. Okay. What do you think? You've worked in so many areas, though. What do you think you want to see change?
In nursing overall,
Mm-hmm.
well, now that I'm a care coordinator post COVID, I the biggest complaint I hear from my patients are the ER visits are so long. Well, they always were, but they're even worse now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to gently remind them that the ER rooms are the wait times are so much longer now because we're so grossly understaffed. And that's everywhere across the country
Mm-hmm.
and probably
Mm-hmm.
across the world. I think a lot of nurses they're leaving because of the staffing and the pay. So I think that poses our biggest challenge here in the United States is that they need to find a way to pay the nurses and staff better so that we can get our patients in and out faster. A lot of my patients are going in for heart failure symptoms and they leave. They leave after waiting 8 hours. They just go home, and then they end up back in the ER and get hospitalized.
You've segued into writing. We talked about the publications that you write for, and as I'm
Mhm.
looking at your at what you've written, you particularly write for Healthy Living. Your website is Healthy Earth Living.
Yes.
Yeah. What drew you to that? What drew you to writing and being, because your topics, in my view, are a little bit varied. You talk about food waste right up next to talking about cannabis and talking about transitional care and all of that. So what brought you to that kind of thing?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So, having done home care for so long and seeing the polypharmacy in the homes of the patients that I took care of, shoe boxes filled with medications. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, I wonder if people, because I am a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, and
Mhm.
I am also a big planet advocate as a scuba diver and a dive instructor,
Mhm.
teaching my students on how to do reef cleanups and take care of the planet, and trying to advocate for a plant-based diet. Try to teach people, give it a shot. Even if it's just one day a week,
Mhm.
try eating plant-based because it's better for you. It's better for the planet. But for my patients, I would often see them. I would often think to myself, I wonder if these people stand in line at the pharmacy getting multiple medications that are hard to afford when a lot of their issues can be resolved with just a better diet. And I'm not saying it's going to replace medications. I'm
Right.
saying holistic living can go hand in hand with your medications in the attempt to someday get off those medications. Like diabetics, for example, a lot of type 2 diabetics are on medications that probably don't need to be on half of them if they just embraced a better diet.
Yeah.
Learned how to eat healthy. And then, of course, with healthy earth living, it has to do with healthy living for a healthy planet. So by living healthy and promoting a healthy lifestyle, we can also help promote a healthier life for our planet.
What do you
Yes.
think nursing is going to look like in about 10 years or so?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I hope to see uh, I think the people that are nurses, that are healthcare providers, do this because they're good at it and they like what they do. I hope to see people paying attention to what nurses want, what nurses need, what nurses are saying. I see a shift
Yeah.
since COVID. You see it too, yes.
Yeah.
I see a shift since COVID. Nurses are leaving the bedside and finding other ways to help. By writing.
Mhm.
That's one of the
Mhm.
things I've been doing is writing on the side as a side hustle. Um, I hope that the powers that be are listening and paying attention to what the nurses are saying, because in order for our profession to continue to grow, we need to progress along with it. It needs to
Yeah.
Ideas are being brought to the table, and we need to be heard. So I'm hoping that that's what we'll see in the next 10 years is
Yeah.
better staffing, better pay, which a happy nurse leads to a happier outcome for a patient.
I mean, there's a whole group which I belong to, and whose mantra really, just the name makes a lot of sense to me. There's a group called Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation.
Okay.
And I think that's huge. I think that's huge.
That falls
So
along with healthy earth living a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it does. It does. It does. So what advice, having done all of this, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse?
Um, I would say to, first of all, earlier I had said I think it's important for them to maybe get their feet wet first, make sure it's something they really want to do before
Mhm.
they jump into it. Because as I said, we all know if you're as a nurse at nurses, it can be kind of a dirty job. And if you decide to go onward and upward and go through school and graduate, terrific. My best advice is don't be afraid of change. The only constant in the universe is change. I have changed so many nursing hats over my last 20 plus years as a
Yeah,
nurse. And I'm happy I did, because I have nurses that have been nurses longer than me that are still doing the same thing and they're really burned out. And I'm like, you don't have to do this. You could do something else. So
yeah,
don't be afraid to try new things. You know,
yeah,
there will
yeah,
always be jobs for good nurses, always. So if you don't like what you're doing, just find something else to do, but don't be
yeah,
afraid to try new things.
yeah, 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 yeah. And you know, as you said, there are some people who are in that same job for years and years and years, and that's okay because that's probably who they are. Um, but many of us, I think that just to be a nurse, you have to be curious, and curiosity leads you to move on and to try something and to try something else. And as you said, there's just so much to do in this profession that there is no way you're stuck.
There isn't, that's one of the surprising things about becoming a nurse is I didn't realize that I would have, you know, just having done so many different things before I became a nurse, which is just kind of, I'm just like a chameleon like that. And now I continue to be that sort of nursing chameleon
Yeah,
and doing what I know that I'm good at doing and I like doing. Um, but I think with technology the way it's going, you know, we're doing e-visits now with our patients through the computer. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it, thanks to COVID, that kind of happened, right?
yeah,
So, for those older nurses out there that are listening that are burned out and thinking about maybe making a switch, don't be afraid to switch. And you could look at health writing as an option, to get, just to kind of get your feet wet and see what else is out there.
yeah. Yeah, there are many, many things out there, and that really is one of the goals of this channel because I really need nurses to know. I think I went through myself a lot of my career without fully understanding. I don't even know if I still fully understand just how much there is out there for a nurse to do. You know, we have the same kind of tunnel vision that the people we serve have about us also, is that very often we think if you're a nurse, you have to be in an institution. Never ever have to be.
Nope.
You never ever have to be if you don't want to. So
Nope.
what do you do for self-care? I know you're a scuba diver and you're a yoga.
Yeah.
What do you do to care for you though?
Well, I do get up every morning very early before 6 a.m. and when it's quiet and dark in the house still. And I do my yoga practice every morning. Um, I drink a lot of water. I would say I drink around 3 or 4 liters of water a day. And I know people would say, I'll float away if I drink that much, but it's really important. You know, our bodies are 70% water. So we need
Yeah.
to keep putting that back. And as we get older, it's even more important.
Hmm.
Um, and I eat healthy. I eat a plant-based diet. I drink a lot of water. I don't turn on the TV. Number one, TV stays off. We listen to a lot of music at my home, a lot of spiritual music in the morning. And then as the day goes on, when things start to slow down a little bit, we'll put on a little bit more lively music. But I think music is the heartbeat of my home. And you know, by tuning out things that are stressful, which you can definitely have control over, by not turning on your TV is the best self-care you can give yourself. Just turn on the music instead and do something good. Meditate. If you're not into yoga, do a 20-minute meditation. I wrote a great article about that on healthyearthliving.com.
Mm.
Aromatherapy with your meditation. Um, if you don't even want to listen to music, you can find a great YouTube channel and put on ocean waves or ocean
Yeah,
sounds.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
kind of find a way to decompress because life is very stressful right now, especially in the United States. And we need to take care of ourselves and decompress and
yeah,
tune out the bad stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Stay
yeah.
focused.
And you just said something very important because you said that life is very stressful. The problem is that very often we don't recognize stress. We often
Mhm.
think that stress has to be something traumatic that happened or whatever. But as you said, very often just stepping outside of your house sometimes is can be stressful, can be a stressful situation. And turning on the TV, very little things that we do daily bring stress into our environment, into our orbit. And so we have to pay attention to that.
Definitely. Yeah.
I have a question that I've been asking. I've been asking about words. I've been asking people if you can tell me in one word what you see as the most essential quality of a nurse, what would that word be?
To describe me as a nurse?
No, as any nurse, what you see that must be essential for someone to be a nurse. What quality do you think they ought to have?
Well, I'm kind of a goofball, so I'm going to say humor. You
Humor.
should
No,
have
that's cool.
humor
You're doing it.
because nursing is hard. It can be
Yes.
very stressful. Again, there's that
Mhm.
word. It can be sad. It can be frustrating. But if you can try to find the humor and the joy in a situation, that will get you out of it quickly, you know. And I have a really good sense of humor. I did hospice nursing for 7 years, and my patients always had a good death because I
Yeah,
made sure that their families got what they wanted. And if they wanted humor at the bedside during their end of life, that's what they got from me or whatever else they wanted. It's, you know, don't take life so seriously and don't forget to laugh.
don't forget to laugh. Don't
Yeah.
forget to laugh. And that is a great note on which to end this conversation.
Yeah.
Do not forget to laugh. It is so important. It really is. It releases all of these good things inside of you. So
Good
yeah.
endorphins come from laughter for sure.
Yeah, indeed, 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 indeed. Janelle, thank you so, so very much for this conversation. It's been huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. I really appreciate the opportunity. And please, everybody, if you're listening, please visit my website at www.healthyearthliving.com.
Yes. And just for everyone's notice, that will be in the description box as well. So,
Great. Thanks, Dale.
all righty. Have a good one, Janelle.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.